FOJ 36. What's up, Jason?
Jeff, how are you?
I'm good. I feel like I just saw you, but I barely saw you.
Yeah, right. I know. We had a little cameo appearance with an attempt at a live broadcast, but we got preempted by Tokyo.
Yeah, Tokyo came in at the last second and decided to swoop me away for a couple hours. That was an interesting call. So I guess for backdrop, I was in Chicago area this last week, and we met for dinner one night. Actually, my last night there, and you graciously offered Portillo's. But at that point, I was Portillo's out because I had already had like Portillo's like 3 days in a row. so, so I was like, let's do something else. And so I went to Uncle Julio's instead, which I still think they have some of the best queso around. That's just
me. Uncle Julio's was really good. I don't get there all that often, but yeah, that was really good.
It was good. It is not as good as I remember it, though. And I don't know if that's because the menu is different or just time has elapsed or I've gotten used to other Mexican food down here in Carolinas. But it was still good, but it was not the same. And I remember we sat down and said, wait, this is the menu? Like it used to be different and bigger.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on, but the queso was still rock solid. And that's really the most important part of any meal is the queso.
Oh, for sure. For a chain restaurant or a chain Mexican restaurant, I thought it was really good.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not Taco Bell. But you know, beggars can't be choosers when you're looking for queso. And I will take Uncle Julio's queso against just about anything else.
Okay.
I'm a little bit of a queso hound, queso fiend.
I know you're a queso guy. Okay, Uncle Julio's or Chili's?
They're two completely different quesos.
Right.
I mean, that would be like saying apples or oranges. I like both.
That's fair.
Yeah. One's a chili queso. The other one is more of a cheese-based jalapeno style queso. So
yeah, I guess. Yeah, Uncle Julio's reminds me of something you'd like buy in a jar at the store, but really good. No, in a good way. Like it's made with more like a cheese sauce or almost a cheese whiz, if you will, but in a good way. I'm not trying to insult the Uncle Julio's queso, but it's just very different than Chili's queso. I agree with you there.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and give Uncle Julio's queso the listener of the week. So, there you go, Uncle Julio's.
There you go. I'll sign off on that.
Can be listeners of the week, just in case you're wondering.
Nice.
Yeah. So we were at dinner, and then I was like, all right, well, maybe we'll record something live, go back to a hotel room or something like that, and kind of figure that stuff out. And then I started getting texts like halfway through dinner. I was like, keep me updated on this. A client that I have that's out there, and it ended up being, let's have a call with Tokyo, and Tokyo time is much different than US time. And so it ended up being a 8 p.m. Central to 10 p.m. Central call with a whole bunch of something sounds out there. And I'm not being disrespectful. I'm hiding identities. I say something.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, that was great times. Then hopped on a plane and then came back to Carolina. And now I'm Sunday night, and now I'm headed to New York City in the morning. So
nice. Yeah, I was supposed to have baseball tonight. Got to the field. Well, first off, hey, I appreciate the time while you were here. It was great to see you as always. And I know we didn't get the pot in, but it was still worth the drive, of course. So I really enjoyed it, and always good to see you. Yeah, we were supposed to have baseball today. And first off, a little update on the team. Okay. So I talk about the team a lot, and, we've had our ups and downs. I feel like we've had more downs than ups, but this weekend, for whatever reason, we kind of turned a corner. In a good way. And I don't know if it's because, we've the kids who are leaving have decided what they're doing next year. And, we know that they're leaving, and we know what we're doing with our squad next year. We're still looking for one more guy, but we're comfortable where we're at. We're happy with the guys that we're keeping. We wish the guys that are leaving good luck, no hard feelings. There's none of that going on, which is good. But our team just kind of let loose, and we were playing in a 14 13-year-old tournament. All our kids are 13, which meant that bases are a little bit longer, 90 feet versus 80. Pitching mound's a little bit further, 60 feet versus 54. So we didn't really know what to expect. Now, granted, it's a lower level 14-year-old tournament. We're not going to put our guys up against the best 14-year-olds in the area so we can go get slaughtered, 3 games and call it a week. But our kids just kind of, we kind of told them, hey, just kind of let loose and see what you got. And, every team's going to take you lightly because you guys are a year younger. And for whatever reason, our kids just excelled. I mean, we didn't make a whole lot of mistakes, or we pitched well. We played good defense. We hit and beat. We had 2 games last night and won 6-5 and 8-3. Both very well played games by our guys. And we went into today as the top seed. We're all excited. We got to buy all the way to 5:00, which is very rare. So we're waiting around all day. And whether it's hot, sun's out, everything's great. We get to the game, we warm up, see the clouds start to roll in, looking at the radar, and we're like, oh no, not this. Might not be good. But it's been dry as all hell here for the better part of 2 weeks. So the rain was welcome. So all of a sudden, skies opened up, and it just kind of came hard and heavy for probably about 15 minutes. And I thought, okay, the dirt on the field really needed it because it was like a dust bowl playing out there. So water would kind of weight the dirt down, and all they had to do was maybe turn it over once, mix it all in, and the dirt would actually be perfect, and we'd be ready to go. We start to walk out. We're just about ready to take the field again, and boom, it just got hammered with rain again. This time, it turned wet dirt into a lake on the field. And that was it. They called it. We're done for the day. They will not make it up. And 10 minutes into the drive home, the sun was out again. So really frustrating. But, on a positive note, the kids played really well. And they, have a positive feeling coming out of the weekend, which is good. We've got one more tournament next week, and then the season is over and we move on. So looking forward to that.
So what does it mean when you said that they're not going to make it up? This was a tournament. They're just not going to fit it back in, and just like, what are the results in the tournament? Is like it did not complete, or do you get something?
Yeah, no, you don't get anything for it. Sometimes what happens, depending on how many games have been played by each team, you might get money back. But what they do is they advertise these tournaments as normally a 3-game guarantee, meaning no matter how you do, you're going to play at least 3 games. When weather comes into the picture, they usually take that down to 2, meaning if you've played 2 games, we're going to keep all your money. And so that going in. They tried to fit this tournament into 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. That was it. We didn't have any games on 4th of July, which I get, maybe not playing Friday night, 4th of July, things like that, but everybody and their uncle is off that day. You could have had games probably up until about 3:00, just to kind of spread it out. And that way, if you could have gotten, the finals and stuff like that in earlier, as opposed to 5 and what would have been 7:00 tonight. But they didn't. They chose to take July 4th off and try to fit it all into 2 days. But yeah, 2 games, no money coming back. So
I didn't realize you're paying money to go play these tournaments. Like, is that like a per player fee, or is it just like
no, it's per team.
Per team. Okay. It's
per team.
Yeah. But how do you collect funds for that though? Is it part of the fee to join the team, or does the players have to pay for that?
How our team does it is they charge the kids per player just a flat fee. I think I want to say it's like $2,300 for this season. Okay. Mm-hmm. That goes towards uniforms, towards practice time, and towards tournament fees. Okay. So average tournament these days is about $600. So you try and play. I think the average team plays between 10 and right around 10 or 11 tournaments a year. So the fees that are collected from the players, that's what that money goes to. None of these teams are for profit.
Mm-hmm.
At least for the organization that we belong. There are some organizations to where it's a business for them. And that's what they do. They generally tend to charge more. Granted, they tend to offer a little bit more. But for the $2,300, that's a pretty solid deal for around here. There are teams around here that charge $4, $5, maybe even $6,000 to play for a player.
I didn't realize there was money exchanged on these types of things.
Jeff, my God, this is travel sports in general is multi-million-dollar business, probably in the billions every single year. So it's a lot.
So what's preventing money coming in and blowing this up? Or has that already happened? Where
blowing it up
have a lot of money, I can.
In what sense?
So I have the money and I can afford to have the best training. Like let's take a professional sports. Best training facilities, best perks, so I can attract the best talent and field the strongest 14-year-old, 13-year-old, whatever team, whatever years old team. Like, what is stopping me from doing that?
Nothing.
And so does such a thing exist where there is like
at the older ages, there are, like, I know in Chicago, there's an 18-year-old team that's funded by some multimillionaire, and he just takes the kids and they try out for his team, and he takes the best of the best and goes and travels around the country. He flies them everywhere, puts them up in hotels, and puts them up against, other teams from around the country.
But there's no regulation or rules or anything like that?
No, totally unregulated, totally it's not really, it's like the wild, wild west, to be completely honest. Anything goes. Players switch teams all the time. Players get recruited off of teams to come to other teams all the time. There are backdoor deals that happen amongst coaches, amongst players, amongst parents, all kinds of stuff. It's the dirty world of travel sports. And if you talk to anybody that's a part of it, they all know it. That exists. So
are players getting paid? Or parents or something?
Not that I know of, but I wouldn't put it past somebody that maybe pays people under the table, offers. I know players out there that play for free. My kids have played for free in the past. Simply because sometimes if you can get one kid to come to your team, he'll bring players with him. They just sometimes they'll pay him, and I guess in a sense that's being paid because they don't have to pay for anything. And it keeps them off of other teams. The better players you get, the better reputation your program has. The more wins your organization gets, the better reputation your players have, your teams have, your organization has. That brings more teams in that want to put the name of your organization on their jersey, and it just kind of builds from there. It's nuts.
I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but me not being part of that world, it's not something I'm exposed to, except through you.
Yeah, it's really a shame because what it's done is, because I'll be honest with you, there are some teams out there that unfortunately shouldn't even exist. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying there are some teams that collect all this money from people and they go out and the kids, they're just, I'm just going to say it. They're not as good as some of the other kids and they have no chance in winning these games. They go get their ass kicked 3 games in a row every weekend. What kind of fun is that? That's not fun. There should still be recreation baseball for the kid that just wants to play for the fun of it. The kid who has no intention of playing in high school, no intention of playing in college, any of that. Just a kid who wants to go play till he's 14 years old, goes to high school, and then, is ready to be done. That is becoming obsolete, unfortunately, because everybody wants to put together a travel team. Everybody wants to spend the money. All the parents are forcing their kids into this as opposed to realizing the skill level of their kids and supporting just the kid themselves. They'd rather push them to be, my kid's the greatest and my kid's awesome. And, he deserves to be on this travel team. And if he's on these travel teams, he deserves to play shortstop or play outfield, or he needs to pitch, without any regard for how skilled the player actually is. It's just a nasty world, man. And I was part of it. I've been part of it. I'll fully admit I've drafted kids that I knew were good. I have stayed away from kids that I knew weren't so good. I've cut kids off teams. It's part of it, man. And the unfortunate thing is the kids who want to play in high school, they have to go through all this, or else they're never going to get recognized. They're never going to get seen. They're never going to get the exposure or the training or the practice time that these kids do get. And trying to compete with that when going into high school or college, you just can't. It's too hard. So, college coaches and high school coaches know who the travel kids are. They know where they're coming from. Chances are they've either seen them play, they've seen a video of them, or they at the very least have heard about them. They'll never hear of any recreational league player until they get them in front of their face. So it's just part of it, unfortunately.
Do you feel like you have competition with other sports where, football, basketball, et cetera, if you've got a multi-sport athlete,
yes.
Do you feel like there's a pull one way or the other where that maybe, I don't know, does baseball have more juice, or does other sports have more juice to pull those players?
I don't think any of the sports have more juice than the other, but when you and I were younger, there was the 3-sport athlete, right? Mm-hmm. There was the guy who played football and basketball and baseball, or the guy who, played soccer and wrestled and ran track, that kind of stuff. You had the 3-sport athlete. You don't see a whole lot of that anymore because kids now are specializing in the sport that they want to play. And it's becoming, especially in baseball, and it shouldn't, but it's becoming a 12-month out of the year deal. Off season is practice, it's hitting, it's pitching when it shouldn't be. Kids need a break, man. We encourage our guys to play other sports. We've got a couple of volleyball players. We've got kids who play basketball. We've got kids who play football. Totally encourage that. Until you need to, there's no reason to specialize, honestly. My kids played multiple sports in high school, and I'm glad they did it. While they all played baseball in college, I had 2 that played high school soccer, and I had 1 that played high school football. And I am forever thankful that they did that because it was a blast. They loved it, and we loved watching something other than baseball all the time. So, I love baseball, but we were actually just at the high school Friday night watching fireworks, and Jeremy said to me, he's like, "Hey man, you remember the Friday night football games?" I'm like, "I'll never forget them. They were awesome." And we were talking about a pick 6 that he had one night that got called back on a penalty against the crosstown rival, and it should have been a penalty. It was like a 70-yard interception return for a touchdown that he had, but it got called back for a block in the back that happened way behind the play. But whatever. But those are memories we'll always have, and if we had specialized in baseball 12 months out of the year, we never would have had that. So
I guess it depends on also the athlete, right? What they want to do. And they specialize in it. And if they think they've got a chance to get to the next level, right? Whether it's high school or college or beyond. It's kind of hard to be an athlete that excels at both. Look how rare it is, right? You have like Dion and Bo, and
it's hard. There's a kid that played on Jeremy's team. I think he was when Jeremy was 11, Jeremy was 12, who is now the quarterback at Northwestern. And he's also their starting, I think, center fielder. So he was able to play 2 sports all the way through high school into college, which is pretty cool. So it's still it happens every once in a while, but it's very, very rare for guys to keep up with both sports, especially in college. I can't even imagine trying to do 2 sports in college, knowing what my guys went through and go through just trying to play one. So you better be pretty damn good.
Yeah. I mean, I guess by the time you're in college, you're not professional, but semi-professional, or at least trying to get to that level, most likely. And so,
Yeah.
You probably are getting a lot of yelling in the ear from the coaches saying you need to focus on one sport or whatever it may be.
Well, that, and not only that, a lot of college players now are making money.
Yeah.
Because schools are allowed to pay them.
Good for them.
A certain amount. Yeah. And as they should. I mean, they bring in a lot of revenue for the school, especially college football and men's basketball. I mean, those guys, those 2 programs in most cases support the athletic program for every other sport that school has, amongst other things. And yeah, players need to be compensated. I've always thought that. I've always believed in that. And granted, in most cases, at least in football and in basketball, their education is paid for 100%. But still got to buy groceries. You still got to buy food. And they're not allowed to have jobs, at least to my knowledge. I don't think they're allowed to have jobs. So where do you get money to support yourself while you're in school? So I think them getting paid is a big deal. Now, some of these guys, I mean, Shedeur Sanders was making $4 or $5 million, at Colorado. He was in Colorado living the dream. So I don't know if it should be that much, but yeah, I mean, they should be paid something. So yeah, I think it's good now. So,
well, one of the arguments against it was, well, we can't afford to do it. I don't hear any schools crying that they have no money now that they're having to pay players. So
they can always afford to do it.
Right. Yeah.
You got a Division I school that, like, look at Michigan, that's got 100,000 seat stadium that they fill for every home game. Who knows what tickets cost, but I mean, it's just they're millions and millions of dollars coming in every weekend. Don't tell me you can't afford it.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Yeah, so
you can pay them.
Yeah, no doubt. So,
well, it's kind of a bummer, but I guess a good thing that the team did so well. But bummer that it kind of ends the way it did.
Yeah. It leaves you wondering, man.
What if?
I wonder how we would have done today, or really wish we could have played it out. Would we have played it as well as we did yesterday? All that stuff. But like I said, we got one more weekend to wrap it up, and I think the kids have had fun overall. The last couple of weeks have been better. Mm-hmm. So we've had ups, we've had downs, we've had some downs, but we've had a few ups. So that's good. Everybody was in good spirits today. The parents were having fun. Kids were having fun. So just kind of waiting out the delay just to see if we're going to play. So I think the kids are in a good space. And at the end of the day, that's really all that matters. So,
yeah. Well, congrats to them for, I don't know. I feel like this is one of those things where you look back and say that was a step.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, it's good for them. Definitely good for them. So I'm happy. Some days I come home from activities with this team really frustrated, but yesterday and even today was not one of them. So that's good.
Well, why don't we go ahead and give that team and their performance this weekend the FOJ listeners of the week.
We'll take that.
All right.
We'll take
What's
that.
What's the team name?
To the 13U JR Stars, congratulations on being the FOJ Show's Listener of the Week.
There you go, man. Congratulations.
On behalf of the JR Stars 13U, I appreciate that.
You accept this momentous award.
I accept on their behalf. Hey, great group of kids, all 12 of them. They're, the guys who are leaving, they're going to go on to do good things. And I'm excited for our group coming back. I'm excited to get 4 new players for next year, and we'll move on. So it's good.
Okay. What else is going on?
Well, All-Stars were chosen or revealed. I think we saw, you and I watched the starters
you're
get
sitting at the bar
revealed
and you're watching them get revealed.
at Uncle Julio's, and all the reserves were announced today. As far as local All-Stars. I'll start with the White Sox because it'll take about 10 seconds. There's a rule in baseball that each team has to have representation. So
consolation prize.
Every team gets one player on the White Sox. Yeah, every team gets one player, which is I understand the rule because you want to keep interest in every market for the game and for all that. So I understand it's money driven, but there are teams that unfortunately are so bad that they don't deserve to have an All-Star. And even though the White Sox are about a month ahead of their pace from last year they didn't get win number 30 until early August, and they got win number 30 either yesterday or 2 days ago. So they're moving in the right direction. But anyway, they're still 30 games under 500, so still not great. But their All-Star this year is Shane Smith. He's a rookie. He's a pitcher. His record after today, because he pitched today, is 3-7, and he has an ERA of 4.2. So in the grand scheme of baseball, not all that great. And Shane Smith celebrated today by being named an All-Star. He celebrated by going out there, throwing 4 innings, giving up 5 hits, 5 runs, 5 earned, and taking the loss to the hapless Colorado Rockies. But anyway, so Shane Smith, congratulations. That's all I'm going to say. I hate the rule. Sox don't deserve an All-Star, and I'm a Sox fan, as we all know, but they don't deserve an All-Star. As far as the Cubs go, I think they got gypped, to be honest with you. So we saw, when we were at Uncle Julio's, we saw Pete Crow Armstrong and Kyle Tucker both be named as starters. Mm-hmm. Both are very deserving. I don't have any issue with any of that. However, their only other All-Star is Matthew Boyd. He's a starting pitcher. He's actually pitching right now. And the Cubs, last I saw, they were up like 8-0 on the Cardinals. They were just
it's 11-0 right now.
Hey, there you go. On Sunday Night Baseball, and Boyd had like 9 strikeouts through 4 innings. So again, well deserved, totally deserved. There are a few guys that I would say that are on the Cubs that should have at least been in the conversation. That did not make the team. Seiya Suzuki, probably the most glaring omission. He leads all of Major League Baseball in RBIs with, I believe it is now 76 after today. The guy's got, I don't know, I think it's like 24 home runs. Definitely should have been there. I know, obviously, Shohei is the National League DH starting. Makes sense. Kyle Schwarber was elected as a reserve. I think he has more home runs than Suzuki does, but Suzuki has more RBIs. I think Suzuki is having a better season. So, yeah, I think he lost out, which kind of sucks. Now, my guess is if somebody gets injured, which usually happens, somebody won't go. I would think Suzuki would be at the top of the list to replace that person. So hopefully that happens for him. But arguments could have been made for Michael Busch, Nico Horner, maybe a Palencia out of the bullpen. So the Cubs had, a lot, Carson Kelly as a catcher, a lot of guys who are having all-star caliber seasons. Unfortunately, with the rule, they only had room for 3 of them, but kudos to the Cubs. They're probably going to win the Central going away, and we will definitely see them in the playoffs.
Any surprises for other teams or other positions?
Other than the guys that are their lone representative because they have to be, mm-hmm. Yeah, because they're the rule. Not really. The only thing I don't like. So, do you know who Clayton Kershaw is? You've heard that name, haven't you?
Pitcher, right?
Pitcher, right, for the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
He was hurt a lot of the year. Came back, I don't know, a month and a half ago. Has been really good. He's been with the Dodgers, I want to say it's like 18 years, so a long time. He's pitched as well as he's pitched probably over the last 4 or 5 seasons, this past month and a half. So he just reached 3,000 strikeouts. He's only the 4th left-handed pitcher in Major League history to reach 3,000 strikeouts. So he joins Randy Johnson, Steve Carlton, and CC Sabathia as the only left-handed pitchers in the history of baseball to reach 3,000 strikeouts. So big deal. So they chose him as, I think, what's called either a Legends pick or a Legacy pick to the All-Star game. I hate that.
Why?
I don't like it because it takes away from somebody who probably deserved to be there. Maybe it's an extra guy that they're carrying. I don't know, but he's not having an all-star caliber season, I guess. And Kershaw has been an all-star 10 times. So this is his 11th selection. But I don't know. If you're going to go to the all-star game, I think you need to earn it. And
so what's the purpose of this pick, though? Like, who makes this pick? You said it's like a legacy.
The league does.
Okay.
So I think they do it if they think it's a guy who's had like a Hall of Fame caliber career, which Kershaw has.
Mm-hmm.
If this is probably his last year, they do that. They just started doing this within the last couple of years, and I'm not a fan. I'm sorry. I think I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the word for it, but maybe it's just not for me. My thing is I think you need to earn it in order to be there. And yeah, one could argue that the guy's had a great career. He's kind of earned it over the course of his career. And I get that, but I don't know. It just kind of taints it for me when you're not having an all-star year. Why are you there?
Does it change your thinking if it ends up being that this is not like, this is an extra pick? This is not taking away from another player's potential spot to be on there.
This is me getting old is what it is. I'm a purist. Okay. So when
how do you feel about the DH?
When new things happen to baseball, most of the time they bug me. I do like the DH. Granted, the DH has been in the American League ever since I started watching baseball. When it came to the National League, I was all for it because if you watch pitchers bat, 99% of the time they have no business being up there. Only because their focus is pitching. There were never that many pitchers who could hit. There were a couple, but not enough to make a significant difference. So I was in favor of the DH across the board.
But doesn't the lack of a DH, I guess, inject some strategy, especially in a late game where maybe you do have a pitcher coming up?
100% it does. Yes.
And then you've got to figure out, do you roll the dice or, whatever it may be?
For sure. I mean, yeah, can your pitcher put a bunt down? Do you pinch hit for him? Okay, if you're going to pinch hit for him, then you got to replace him. Do you have a guy ready? Yeah, there's a lot more strategizing and thinking and, moving on the fly in the National League than there was the American League, where you just kind of roll with it. Now they inserted the Shohei rule that says that even though he's a pitcher, so he's pitched a few times now, right? Mm-hmm. But he's only thrown like 1 or 2 innings at a time. I think they've bumped him up to 2 innings now, as he's still coming back. Even when they take him off the mound, he's allowed to stay in the lineup as their designated hitter and finish out the game as a hitter, just DH. I don't think they had that before. And obviously for the marketability of the game, you don't want to take Ohtani out of the lineup because, he's one of the better hitters in baseball and people pay to see him play. Mm-hmm. So now he starts the game, throws 2 innings, and then he's a designated hitter the rest of the game. So, and he's pitching very well, by the way.
Amazing.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, I don't know so he goes out there, he starts game, throws 2 innings, and then a reliever comes in.
Yeah.
A long reliever, I guess, somebody who's going to pitch, 4 or 5 innings.
The Dodgers seem to follow him up with a guy by the name of Ben. I think his last name is Kasparius or Caparius or something. I don't know how you pronounce it, but he seems to come in after Shohei pitches, and he throws anywhere from 3. I've seen him throw 3, 4, and 5 innings after him. So it's like when you combine the 2 of them, you get what a normal starting pitcher would have gotten. And maybe
it's
a little bit
they've
more.
been combined into one starting pitcher.
Yeah. Now the Dodgers are. I used to totally rank on their manager, Dave Roberts, all the time. I used to think he was a horrible manager. Despite all the success that they've had. But they've had so many pitching issues. Like right now, they've got Yamamoto and Kershaw and Dustin May when he's decent for starting pitching. They have so many pitchers on the injured list that they're paying a lot of money to, which is a whole nother story, including Blake Snell, which I predicted, by the way, but that was a horrible contract. But anyway, he's had to manage. Most teams will go through, they'll do what's called a bullpen game every so often. Roberts seems to have to do a bullpen game at least twice a week, which is nuts to have to try and manage. And he has done it for the past year and a half very well. So he's basically working right now with 2.5 starting pitchers, and they're still in first place in the National League West. And they're like somewhere like around 20 games over 500, which to me is just absolutely amazing. So I got to give credit where credit is due. Dave Roberts doing a very, very good job with that team, even though I used to not really like him. So
well, that's fine. It's okay to have opinions can change if facts change. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's okay to get smarter.
It is okay to get, we've gone over this. It is okay to get smarter. That's correct. Yeah. That's correct. He's been the Dodgers manager for quite a while. And I want to say they've either won their division every year he's been their manager, or they've made the playoffs every year he's been their manager. So it's one of those two. And he's been there for, oh God, I don't know, like 7-8 years now, maybe even longer than that. I don't even know. So I used to think that they won games in spite of him. And now they're starting to win games because of him. So that's a pretty big change. So yeah. So, okay. What else is going on? So I don't know if you know this, but we talked about the Kevin Durant trade a couple weeks ago, right?
Yep. I was not a fan of giving up that much for one extremely older player.
Yes. So that trade has changed. He's still going to Houston, but they have now involved, 5 other teams, I believe it is.
Yeah, I don't understand how this works.
It's a 7 teams. It's a 7-team deal, which I believe is the largest trade in NBA history. Still involves Jalen Green going to Phoenix. But yeah, there's a bunch of other guys just changing hands and a couple second-round picks going from one team to another. And I don't really know how it's all intertwined. But yeah, it's just weird. I can't even describe it. I read it and I'm like, I have no idea who most of these players. Actually, Jalen Green and Kevin Durant are the only 2 players involved in that trade that I've ever heard of. So
yeah, I don't understand how you can announce a trade and then
what, a week later it?
Say like, okay, the trade has changed and now it's part of
I don't know either. But then I come to find out that Jalen Green wanted out of Houston because I think the guy is his coach. His head coach was like texting and hitting on his girlfriend or something like that. I don't know. Strange story. You know, it's when the NBA meets TMZ. I don't know. So, just celebrity gossip, whatever. But kind of weird. But yeah, so Durant is still on his way to Phoenix, or on his way to Houston, excuse me. And a bunch of supporting cast members, I guess, will change teams. So
yeah, I'm looking at the list here. And so the Rockets, they get Kevin Durant and Clint Capella. The Suns get Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, Kaman Malak, Rasheer Fleming, Kobe Brea, Daquan Plowden, a 2026 second round pick, and a 2032 second round pick. The Nets get a 2026 second round pick and a 2030 second round pick. The Warriors get Alex Tui and Jemai Mashak. The Hawks get David Roddy, a 2031 second round pick, cash, and the Lakers get Adu Thero and cash, and the Timberwolves get Rocco Zakarski, a 26 second round pick, a 2032 second round pick, and cash. And a lot of these players were, I think they were draft picks this year, because I'm seeing like number 10 overall, number 31 overall, etc.
Okay.
So, I mean, this is a wild trade.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got guys that were drafted potentially this year involved. You got Kevin Durant, who's been in the league, 17 years?
Yeah, something like that.
He's involved. 7 teams, from both conferences. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know whose idea it was, who orchestrated that thing. Sounds like you got about 6 draft picks. You got 3 teams grabbing cash out of the deal. All kinds of stuff going on.
Yeah, and you're talking about draft picks that are 6 years away for some of these teams. Suns, the Nets get one in 2030. Hawks 2031.
Somebody said 2032. Yes.
Yeah, the Timberwolves and the Suns are getting 2032 second round picks out of this deal.
Wow.
That's
wild.
This is the kind of bullshit I'd expect the Dodgers to do.
Yeah, I'm surprised the Brain Trust in LA didn't come up with that one.
You know what? This reminds me of a text that went around last week, the Bobby Bonilla Day text. And so our friend Cruz texted us all.
Yes.
And I'm a little disappointed that I didn't get a better response to my comment on that thread.
Okay.
And so I'd have to pull it up, but it basically, Cruz sends out the Happy Bobby Bonilla Day text. He gets $1 million every year to 2030 or something like that.
2030, I think it's 2035.
Okay. And so I made a comment somewhere along the line in that thread that I expected, the Dodgers should look into this strategy, just start paying annuity contracts through the year 2500 to the descendants of Ohtani. I expected a little more ha-has off that one.
You know what?
That's only one that I would know because I've been talking with you and talking about
because we've discussed it. See?
Right.
Well, we are here to educate the people, so yeah. I'm glad that resonated with you. Come to find out that contract of Bobby Bonilla, I thought, because everybody refers to July 1st as Bobby Bonilla Day. Everybody in the baseball world, sports world does it. But he is far from the only guy who gets paid on this day. Nor is he the first to do it. He wasn't the first to sign a contract like that. I always thought he was, hence the name Bobby Bonilla Day. But he wasn't. There were guys in the 70s that signed contracts that were deferred. And long before Bonilla did it, which I find strange. And what is it? Ken Griffey Jr. got paid that day. There's a guy who gets paid by the Baltimore Orioles over $9 million still. He hasn't played baseball in like 5 years. His name is Chris Davis.
Yeah, but how many years has this been going on?
I know Bruce Sutter, Hall of Fame reliever who pitched in the 70s, pitched for the Cubs, pitched for the Cardinals. For you Cub fans, he's the pitcher that Ryan Sandberg took deep twice in extra innings on Game of the Week. He was the pitcher that was the victim of the Sandberg game. He got paid for like 30 years after he played. Like he almost got paid up until the day he died, believe it or not.
That's crazy.
I know. Jim Rice, Sparky Lyle, those other players from the 70s. There's others that slipped my mind, but I want to know why it's referred to as Bobby Bonilla Day.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Is like why does he get
all the credit?
Holiday?
Yeah,
yeah, and not anyone else? Because I mean, Is it just because of the length that he's getting paid? But you said that there's been others, right?
There's been others, right? The one thing, and I think we've covered this, the genius behind Bobby Bonilla Day is the contract runs out in 2035, which is the first year that he qualifies for the baseball's pension program. So we talked about this and how he will always get paid by Major League Baseball until his life ends. That's some pretty awesome foresight by an agent. I don't know if there's another.
Yep.
I don't know if there's another contract like that specifically. So maybe that's why it garners the attention that it gets. But I mean, he only gets paid like $1.15 million. Listen to me, only $1.15 million.
Yeah.
But in terms of baseball contracts, it's like nothing.
So you mentioned Chris Davis, right?
Yes,
he's one of the players. So he's getting payments till 2037.
2037.
Yep. He had a substantial amount of his 7-year, $161 million contract was deferred. So yeah, another, I think it's a savvy move if you're putting that money away, especially if
I think it's smart. Yes.
If you're able to collect interest on it, like if it goes into some sort of holding account where it's not just because otherwise the other option would be take all the money up front and then put that into
and then invest it
some high yield or invest in it or something like that, right? Where at least you're not just sitting on it. So I'm assuming that maybe there's some of that going on here, but who knows? I'm not in a position to have any of these contracts.
Yeah. But hey, good for these guys. I know, like I said, I think Ken Griffey Jr. still gets paid.
Todd Helton is still getting paid.
Okay, another Hall of Fame player.
Since 2010, he's been getting paid.
Okay.
Brett Saberhagen has been getting paid since 2004.
He won the Cy Young one year.
Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani, they're going to have the money. Obviously, we've talked about, I think, their contracts deferred.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have my more demon or others on that, but
yeah, I mean, it's a great
Kevin
strategy.
Durant had a similar strategy too.
Yeah, it's a great strategy. If a team can handle it and the player can handle it, and it's good with their money. I mean, it ensures financial stability for the rest of your life for the most part. So,
plus, I think it helps you maybe a little bit from a financial discipline standpoint to say, okay, you've got to spend within your budget, and you hear all the stories, right? You get a bunch of money, whether it's pro sports or a lottery, and they go out and they spend it all, and they're broke 2 years later because they don't know how to handle that.
Well, suddenly they've got 100 family members that they never knew about. And, want to take care of them all, and they got their posse or their entourage that they got to handle, and
Well, if I ever win the lottery and that I don't play, I will take you out to Other Mama in Las Vegas, and we will have the best sushi dinner of all time.
Hey, that sounds great.
Yeah. What can I say? I'm a kind and generous and benevolent,
you are
that 1%er as soon as I hit that money.
Yeah. No, I don't doubt that. You are definitely a very kind man. So no doubt about that.
I sure am.
Wish I could say the same. No, I'm kidding. I try to be.
It's not that hard to be a kind person.
It's not. No, life is better being a nice guy, I think. They say nice guys finish last, but I don't really believe that. So I feel better about being a nice guy than being a not so nice guy. So
be a real human being. It's not that hard.
No, it's
some people don't have that, but that is what it is.
Well, hey, it's the golden rule, right? Treat others the way you want to be treated. So
exactly.
Yeah. So
okay. So that's the NBA and a 7-player trade. What else?
Not much else going on in the sports world. I think, what is it? Training camp for the NFL. I think it's in 3 weeks, I think. So we'll be back to discussing, the ins and outs of the Bears and hopefully the progress of Caleb Williams, and hopefully that'll translate into wins and, more wins and not as many losses and less sacks and more touchdown passes and all that good stuff. So I am very much looking forward to the Bears this year. They have to take a step. and I think a sizable
This is the most
one.
excited I've been for the Bears in a while.
Yeah.
I mean, even with the drafting of Caleb Williams, I watched every single game, for the last couple of years, especially with Sunday Ticket and stuff like that. And this is the year. We're going to see if this thing, is what we all hope that it is.
Well, I mean, all indications are that they should be better. On paper.
Should be.
On paper.
I mean, come on, man.
They won the offseason again, as we've said, offseason champs. They needed offensive line. They went out and bought one. They needed a new head coach. They went out and got the one they wanted and got the one that everybody wanted. They apparently needed another playmaking tight end. Supposedly they got it. They needed more help on the defensive line. They went out and signed a guy and drafted a guy. So they've addressed needs that they have. It's just hopefully what they addressed him with works out. So
do the Bears have any excuses this year?
No.
Do you give them a year to assemble these pieces and I guess maybe not make the jump right away to the playoffs, let's say, but would you be disappointed if they had a slightly better record, but you can see the culture shift and the stage setting for next year? Or is it, no, they're out of excuses. Like they went out and spent all this money. They got all the players they wanted, the coach they wanted, everything you just said, right? Do you need to see 10 wins this year?
I think, okay, they have to finish above 500. So they have to, at the very minimum, have to go 9-8. If that gets them in the playoffs, great. If it doesn't, okay, I'll live with it. They cannot finish under 500 again. They can't. And for me, because yeah, it's Ben Johnson's first year, but it's another year off of Caleb's contract, rookie deal. It's another year of DJ Moore's contract, gone. It's another year of Montez Sweat's contract, gone. There has to be obvious progress. And progress to me is wins. I mean, that's why we're here. That's why they're there. That's why we root for them. We want them to win. So 9-8 at the very least has to happen for me. What do you think?
I feel about the same. I think 9-8 is not good enough though. I need double-digit wins.
Okay.
Because they should be better than that. And the only thing I think that stops them is themselves and injuries. Like they've got
injuries. Injuries obviously play a factor.
I mean, yeah, the wrong player gets injured and you could say goodbye to the entire season.
Okay. Other than Caleb Williams, who in your mind is that player that if they lose for any significant amount of time?
I think it's their offensive line.
Okay.
I think with this rebuilt offensive line, it's going to take a lot of work to get them to gel and work as a unit. But when you start throwing injuries in there on top of, basically 4 new starters, maybe even 5 by the time things are all said and done.
Yeah.
That messes with that chemistry. And especially, it's such a hard position to play and there's always injuries. So what happens if 1 or 2 guys get injured? And maybe they don't miss the season, but maybe they missed 3 games, 4 games.
Sure.
Stuff like that. And you have this sort of rotating unit coming in and out. It's very hard to establish any sort of, cohesive group with that much change. And considering that has been their most serious weakness for, decades at this point.
Right.
We run the risk of, if the offensive line goes down, we end up seeing Caleb Williams from the last year, scrambling around trying to make things happen and basically running for his life all over again.
Okay, so any lineman. So if it's Darnell Wright gets hurt or what's his name, Jonah Jackson or Drew Dahlman or Joe Tooney or Braxton Jones or the other dude with Ozzie Trapillo. One of those, I don't know who's going to take that left tackle spot. But
Jones, Tooney, Dahlman, Jackson, Wright are listed as the starters right now. But
so if any one of those guys gets hurt, you think it's a huge problem?
I think it is a big problem because I don't know what their depth looks like behind that. And the fact that, again, you've got a whole new squad out there.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I'm hoping that the play design of Ben Johnson's playbook helps with some of that to where there's not as many, 5 and 7 step drops where Caleb's back there for 4 or 5 seconds searching for guys and all that stuff to where, he gets the ball out in say 2 or 3 seconds and the offensive line only has to pass protect for so long. So I hope the play calling helps with that. But yeah, I hear you. It's if you don't have a guy who can pass protect and you're expecting their guys to pass protect, yeah, it's a problem. That's a huge problem.
Mm-hmm.
But what if DJ Moore goes down?
I feel like wide receiver is not that pivotal position.
Okay. What if Swift goes down? Same thing.
Yeah, because I'm not sold on Swift.
Okay. Okay.
I think this team is really going to be built around the offensive line.
Yeah. Okay.
And if you have a really good offensive line and they're able to actually pass block and run block, you can take average players and make them good. It's very difficult to cover any NFL receiver for more than 5-6 seconds.
True. Do you okay, here, I'll throw a different scenario at you. What if Caleb goes down?
Then we're fucked.
Is it you think it's a totally
season.
Lost season? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what do you got? Tyson Bagent as your backup?
Bagent
and Aaron Rodgers is off the table. We can't get him now. So.
Or thank God. Or what's it, Case Keenum?
Yeah. Or Austin Reed, which is our 4th stringer right now.
Right. Our practice player.
Look, they're all in on Caleb. If Caleb gets injured and misses any significant amount of time, or misses any significant amount of time, let's call it that way. Yeah, I think this is a done season.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to go out and make a trade or sign some player, and for what? I mean, it's still supposed to be KLC. Now, if it is a serious Caleb Williams injury, let's hope it doesn't happen, but something like an Achilles or ACL or something like that has potentially be career threatening,
mm-hmm.
then I think you start to think about, okay, well, what does next year look like sooner?
Okay, let's say the Bears are they're challenging for a playoff spot. Like, let's say they're at week 13 or week 14 and they're 8-5. And Caleb goes down. Yet you're in the driver's seat for a wild card, possibly the division this year. Would you still scrap it, or would you try and make a deal for if he's still out there, like a Kirk Cousins, or I don't know if he's still going to be with. I think he's in Cleveland now. Would you bring in like a Flacco, that kind of guy who could potentially get you to the playoffs this year? Would you do that, or would you just stay the course? Hey, Caleb's gone. He's out. We're just going to keep rolling with what we have and hope for the best.
If there's a chance that Caleb comes back later in the playoffs or something like that, then I think you roll the dice and you do try to do something about it.
Okay.
If not, then no, I think you stay where you want it to be and
just scrap it. And
don't
ride it out.
Don't sacrifice because so you won the division or a wild card game. Who cares? Like that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. What's the ultimate goal?
Right.
Yeah.
So why would I sacrifice for a meaningless participation trophy in that space?
Well, teams do it. That's why I'm asking.
They do, and I don't agree with it either.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I would not want to sacrifice long term for a meaningless short term game.
I agree with you. I agree. I think it's a marathon, not a sprint, right?
Mhm.
So ultimately, we want Caleb when his rookie contract expires, when it's time to give him that 5th year. We're hopefully in the playoffs. Hopefully, have been to the playoffs once, maybe even twice. And you're like ready to take the next step towards, hey, we're going for it all. So
there are 7 or 8 free agent quarterbacks available right now. The best of which you could argue is Carson Wentz, maybe.
What has he done? He had the one.
Yeah. And he's 32 and a half years old already, almost 33.
Yeah.
There are no young quarterbacks kind of left. Tyler Huntley is probably the youngest now. Desmond Ridder is younger. But here are your free agents as of right now. Carson Wentz, Teddy Bridgewater, CJ Beathard, Tyler Huntley, Jeff Driscoll, Desmond Ridder, and Jake Fromm. You're telling me one of those guys is going to all of a sudden lead you to the promised land?
Well, the only guys that I've really heard of are Jake Fromm, and I just remember him from college. Bridgewater, who I thought retired.
Yep.
But maybe he could be talked back into playing. And Carson Wentz, who had 1 year where he was really, really good, and then he got hurt, and then has done nothing since.
Now, would there be some poetic justice if Carson Wentz were to come in? Let's say it's that situation, and he ends up leading a team to the Super Bowl the same way that Nick Foles did it against him. I think that would be an interesting NFL plot line. So look for
sure.
For the tinfoil hat people, look for end of year shenanigans where the NFL can plot to make that happen.
Okay, what if they sign Carson Wentz and just out of nowhere they go on a run, make the playoffs, get to the Super Bowl, win it or not, with Carson Wentz at the helm? What do you do in the following year?
I mean, I think it's still Caleb's team.
I think so too.
And Carson Wentz, goes out on a high note. At that point, he'll have been in the league for 10, 11 years.
Yeah, you shake Carson's hand, say thank you very much, and
and if Carson's smart, he takes it, and he's like, yeah, fine, right, and he never pays for a meal again in Chicago,
right,
and he's beloved.
And maybe goes and gets a Sam Darnold type contract somewhere else.
Yeah, or just I don't know anybody would pay that much for a 34-year-old quarterback.
No, probably not. Probably not.
If he's smart and if he doesn't, this is that personality, right? Against quarterbacks is, are you okay understanding that your career is coming to an end, and are you okay holding a clipboard?
Yeah.
Carson's doing it for a while, so hopefully
he's done it for a while. The name that always comes to mind in that sense, and a guy who I think you'd love to have on your team, is Jameis Winston. Because he's like the ultimate reliever. Doesn't really care if he plays or not. Just likes to be in the game. But when he plays, man, he just lets it fly.
So I have a better player than Jameis Winston that I would want.
Okay.
He doesn't play anymore. He's retired recently. But give me Ryan Fitzpatrick.
There's another one. Little Fitzmagic. Yeah, no doubt.
Comes in, he's good he'll throw 5 touchdowns in a game and, play 2 games a year and, come off the bench and save your season.
Yeah. They call a guy like that a Hall of Famer at the bank, man. They make good money. They don't play all that often, but when they do, they play great and earn tons of cash.
Exactly. Like, that's the kind of player that you would need to sign. And, maybe they coax Tom Brady out of retirement, right? Or something like that. I don't know. Hey, come back and play 3 games.
Could you imagine? What if the Raiders quarterback got hurt and they had nobody else, and he's 5% owner of the team, and they said, "Hey, Tom, we need you." Could you imagine?
It would be really interesting. I don't see it happening, but
no, neither do I. But it'd be kind of cool because he's what, 44, 45?
He's old.
Yeah, he's got to be up. Yeah, but the guy is in all world shape, I'm sure. He could probably still throw the football pretty well. So
I don't know. Well, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't bet
I
on
mean,
it.
now we're obviously into hypotheticals, but
You can't mess up
it's-
that pretty face that is Tom
Yeah.
Brady. Come on.
yeah, come on, he's too busy.
Yeah. So, okay. I have a new would you rather for you. This is would you rather vacation edition.
Oh, I like vacation.
I know you do. I know you like to travel. So, here you go. Jeff, would you rather have on your vacation have a beach day or have a ski day? I said, would you rather go to the beach or would you rather go skiing?
I mean, I guess the beach. I'm not a fan of either, but
Okay.
the beach. I can sit in a chair and, snooze with the best of them. I do that today out on my back deck. Snooze for
Now,
about an hour.
So obviously you've been to the beach before.
Yes,
Are you a water guy? Do you go in the water? Or are you just there for the tan?
I have, but I'm not a fan of it. I'm more of
Okay.
just sitting and relax. Maybe walk along the edge or something like that. But I'm not interested in getting out into the ocean or anything like that.
Now, what about have you guys ever taken your dogs like to the beach or any of that stuff? I know you don't
No.
live close to one, but you know.
Archie's
if you've
been
ever-
in like ponds and creeks and stuff like that around here,
Okay.
Carolina. So he's definitely more water. But the other ones are not interested in the water at all.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I would. All right. Now in my advanced age,
Mhm.
I would prefer the beach. But there was one point in my life where I probably would have been good with a ski day. I have skied in the past when I was a lot more coordinated and a lot younger, and I loved it. It was awesome. So I could handle a ski day. But now a beach day would be good with me.
See, I've never skied, snowboarded, anything like that. And
Okay.
I don't really have an interest at this point to do it. So I don't know what I'm missing, which is
Okay.
fine with me. It's a little bit ignorance is fine with me in this case.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather take a vacation with your friends or with your family?
Do I get to pick? Like define family. Like, is this like you get to choose which members of your family are going?
Yeah. But you also get to choose which friends you get to go with. So
I mean, I would do definitely. That's a toss up
okay.
because I would go with my brothers or you, Chad, Cruz, something like that, right? Others like that. So it would be a toss up for me.
Yeah, I have a hard time with this one as well. If it was I would go on a trip with my immediate family anytime. We'd have a blast. Especially now with kids being older and, able to do more things. And I would again love to go on a trip with my friends like you, Jeff, Chad, Mike, those guys. So yeah, that would be a hard choice. If I had to go with some extended family, I would pass. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So, for, various reasons. Okay. Would you rather, if you took a trip, would you rather stay in one place, like do a destination vacation, or would you rather road trip to different places while you're on vacation? Like do a day here, a couple days there, but always like you're always on the move.
I mean, I'm constantly on the move anyway. So it's, I think it depends on the kind of vacation. Like if you're going on a road trip, then the expectation is, you're going and you're going to stop along the way and see different spots. But if you're going on a destination, it's like, okay, well, the whole point is to go to Paris.
Like going to like a resort or
a thousand things to do. Right. Yeah. London, Paris, Amsterdam, Berlin, Vegas. Right. I mean, there's just so much to do.
Okay. If you had the choice of one or the other, which would you rather do?
I would do the destination one because time spent traveling is not time that you get back. And so if you're doing a road trip, let's say, to have the same number of experiences requires way more effort because you have to commute in between all these different places.
Fair.
And that means you're not able to really kind of get into it. Now,
Fair.
you could argue that the road trip itself can be kind of fun, which again depends on who you're going with. The road trip itself can be just as fun as the destination.
Are you a road trip guy?
Yeah, I mean, I like to drive.
I am.
So, yeah, I'm gonna make a road trip to Raleigh here not this week, but next week. So
how
it's like 4 hours.
Far is it? Okay, so yeah, that counts.
Yeah.
What is the longest road trip you've taken?
Chicago to Daytona Beach, probably.
That's a good one.
I've done that a few times when I was in high school, actually.
That's a good one.
Yep. Drove, our van with all my younger brothers and,
yeah,
going from back and forth. We used to have a condo in San Agustin. We don't have it anymore, unfortunately, but we would go down there every summer and hang out.
In the same year, I drove from, it was Grass Valley, California, which I don't know if you know where that's at. It's up north, about an hour from Sacramento. It's where my grandparents used to live. Mm-hmm. Made that drive to Chicago because my grandmother was giving us her car because she couldn't drive anymore. That same summer, I drove from Chicago to Cooperstown, New York, upstate New York, for where the Hall of Fame's at for a baseball tournament. And then I don't remember if it was the same year or it was either the year before or the year after. I drove from Chicago down to Baton Rouge for Jeff's wedding. So I saw a lot of the country in a short amount of time. Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you, man, it was awesome. I've made some awesome drives, and I love to do drives by myself. No offense to anybody that likes to travel with me, if there are such people out there. But I really enjoy the road trips on my own because you can kind of do what you want and go at your own pace and listen to your own music and all that stuff. But I remember, like, there are certain things that stick out in my mind. I'll never forget driving up I-25. It was about 5 a.m. to see the sunrise. It hit the horizon just at the right time. Unbelievable scenery that I saw. I remember driving down to North Carolina a few years ago to see my dad play softball, and I had driven all night. And in the morning, I was in the mountains, like in Southern Virginia, North Carolina. And you see the clouds. You're like above the clouds in the mountains, or above the fog line. That's what it was. So you could see the fog down in the valleys, but you could just see the peaks that you're driving through. I thought that was some of the neatest scenery I'd ever seen. I guess my point is that the country, the USA, is just absolutely gorgeous. So I would invite anybody to go drive it coast to coast if you can. I've never done coast to coast. I would love to someday, but I've come pretty close, and it's pretty awesome.
Get out and travel.
And I know you said it. Yeah. I will tell you this though, driving down to Cruz's wedding, driving through Mississippi at about 10 o'clock at night when it is pitch dark, northern Mississippi. Holy crap. It is like driving in the middle of nowhere, no lights, no nothing. You could barely see a damn thing. I thought I was going to die. So that was pretty wild. But that was awesome. I love a good road trip. Yeah, for sure. So,
yeah, I'm a big fan of the solo drive myself. So I'm with you for sure.
Yeah, no, awesome. Okay. Would you rather, Jeff, stay in a hotel or go camping?
Hotel. Not even close.
Yeah, me too.
Dude.
Yeah, me too. That's an easy one. All right, we'll go right through that one. Okay. Would you rather on a vacation, would you rather have a planned itinerary or would you rather just go to a place and wing it?
See, now this is something that my wife and I are very different about is I like not having hard plans when I travel for vacation. But there is something to be said about having at least a little bit of structures. Okay, let's do this today and then whatever else. So we usually do a happy medium.
Okay.
I'd rather not have any plans at all.
I'd rather wing it. I'd rather know where I'm going and then just do whatever you can when you get there. That's just me. Planned itinerary would give me a headache. Knowing if I was on a schedule, I'd be like, oh my God, when can I have some free time? I think
there's some places you have to do that if you're going, to any place that's a major touristy spot that has tickets, for example. If you want to go to the Louvre and
for sure,
you do have to make plans, or you have to get tickets in advance because they sell out.
That makes sense.
Museums and stuff like that.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, would you rather travel domestic or international? And I think
international,
I know the answer. Yeah, you are international. Yeah, I knew that.
Get me out of the U.S.
That's fair. Would you rather travel by plane or travel by train?
Man, both suck. Plane is the new bus. For 90% of your travel, it is a bus. It's not comfortable. Its only benefit is that it is the fastest and generally the safest way to travel.
Sure.
But it is not comfortable. Train is, I don't know, there's something interesting about the train. Takes longer, but I think it's more entertaining. And if you do it right,
it's a see more.
Yeah. And so we did a train from Berlin to Amsterdam, and that was about a 4.5 hour, I think, train ride. Not the best in the world, but wasn't terrible.
Okay.
And the reason it wasn't the best because there was no food or drink on a 4.5 hour train, which kind of shocked us. And so we were not really prepared for that. But if I'm flying first class, I'm going plane. If I'm not, then I'm going, give me a train ride. I think that'd be fun.
Okay. That's fair. Remind me I gotta ask you something when we're done with this. Would you rather in regards to a train? It just prompted something to me. So I got to ask it. Okay. Would you rather, if you're at a specific place, would you rather go see like a local museum or local, just something that place is known for, or would you rather go to its fanciest restaurant in that town, like for really, really good food?
I mean, it depends on the attraction. Some restaurants are the attraction. That's why you go somewhere. French Laundry in Napa. What's the Yountsville or something like that? It's like up in North Carolina or not in California, but like one of the best restaurants literally in the world, and is a few $1,000 dinner. That is the destination. That is why you go to that spot. Yes, it's in the middle of wine country, but going to wine country pales in comparison to going, hey, we're going to French Laundry.
Okay.
Conversely, if I'm going to go to Paris again, for example, it's the Louvre or the Eiffel Tower, right? Or something like that.
Sure.
You're not really going for a specific restaurant or food. Does that make sense? Kind of depends on what your intention is for the actual destination.
So you're going for like the landscape and to see everything that's there that it has to offer. Yeah, or as much as you can.
Right.
Yeah, I get it. Okay. Would you rather upgrade your flight to first class or upgrade your hotel to a suite?
The flight.
Because I would say the hotel suite.
Yeah. So I'm very fortunate. I get upgraded a lot. So there is a big difference in your flight experience flying first class versus.
I never have. I don't travel all that often, but I would do the flight because I would do the flight because most of the time if I travel, I'm not spending a whole lot of time in the hotel.
Right.
I sleep there. I take a shower there. Okay.
Right.
Would it be nice once in a while? Sure. But I would think the flight would be an upgraded flight would be just so much better than, not that saying flying coach isn't awful, but Yeah, I would think there's a major difference between first class and coach.
And I've had suites before, and they're cool, but unless you need the space for whatever reason.
Yeah, exactly.
They're a complete waste. Because what do you get? Typically in a suite, you'll have like a dining room table and like a kitchen type thing. And you'll have like a living room. And unless you need that extra space, it's really kind of a waste. Look, it's cool. And I get it, right? Not everyone has been that fortunate. But there's really not much to it. I could tell you where suites are popular is for business travel. So if I'm going to a conference, for example, we might do a suite because we want to entertain clients or something up in our suite. Or heck, record a podcast up in the suite away from the show floor where it's a little bit quieter. So I've done that a few times. But the suite is generally, I think, overrated. And give me a first class, especially the longer the flight. The longer the flight, the more first class is absolutely worth it.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather, on a flight, have a window seat or an aisle?
I'm usually a window person.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm an aisle person because now granted, I get hit with the cart all the time, but I need the room to stretch out because I'm a bigger guy. I need that. Plus I try like heck not to have to get up to use the bathroom or whatever. I generally don't take flights that are long enough to have to do that. I make sure that's the case, but I just would hate to have to ask somebody, let alone two people, hey, can you get up so I can go use the restroom? That kind of thing. I don't want to inconvenience other people. So I'm an aisle guy, but I do understand why people are window people. They like to see, they like to look, there's a little bit of extra elbow room, to your left or to your right or whatever. I get it.
Not so much. For me, it's more, you're away from the aisle. And so you're not getting hit all the time, whether it's the cart or people or the boarding process where it's just like, it's just shoulder after shoulder after bag is getting hit. I feel like once I get next to the window, I've got the window and I'm locked in there, and it's like, all right, I can set up my little base of operations, and be all set essentially.
It cracks me up when you're getting on a plane and you see somebody who's in the aisle seat with empty middle, empty window, but they're set, seatbelt buckled, everything's ready to go. And it's like, you have to freaking move. Two other people are coming in your row. Yeah. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. That's a rookie move.
Total rookie move.
Even
I know that.
Yeah.
It's like, don't get all settled, man. Oh man, that's funny. Okay. I got two more for you. And one's a 3-parter. Would you rather go visit a vineyard, a brewery, or a distillery?
Well, I've done all three. So,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, California.
You are a man of the world. I know
wineries out there. Been to that. Plenty of breweries here in Asheville. So and distilleries too. So wineries tend to be the best experiences because there's generally more of an outdoors and the weather's usually pretty good and it's a little calmer, more relaxing. But breweries and distilleries tend to have more action around them and food options typically. Like they might have like a bar and grill or something like that kind of associated with it. So, and I don't really drink, so I think probably a winery more for just, I know that I'm probably going to go somewhere for a winery versus you can have a brewery or distillery anywhere. And you can have a winery kind of anywhere, but if I'm going to a winery, I'm going to guess it's in a great location like California or France or Italy or Spain or something like that.
I've been to a brewery, never been to a distillery, and I had never been to a winery until last year. We did a wine tasting at a winery in Geneva, Illinois. We took Michelle for her 50th birthday. She's a big wine person. And I'm not a wine guy at all. I think most wine, and I know I'm wrong, but most wine to me tastes like Robitussin cough medicine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a fan. But we went to a winery, and you're right. It was slow paced. It was very laid back. The guy that we dealt with knew what he was talking about. Very interesting. Did another one down in Tucson, Arizona, when we were down there for baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Again, guy super laid back, very knowledgeable about his product. Very interesting. I did a brewery tour a long, long time ago in Fort Collins, Colorado. We toured the Fat Tire Brewery. Very interesting. Learned all about the process, and obviously got to try a lot of stuff. I've never been to a distillery, and I'm sure I would find that interesting. So I would do any of them, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I know enough to be able to prefer one over the other, but I would do any of them. It was any experience I've had with that is pretty cool. So I learned a lot. So it was cool.
Mm.
Okay. Last thing for you, and this is this is out there, but would you, if you had the choice, and don't say neither, would you rather climb Mount Everest or walk the Great Wall of China?
Walk the Great Wall of China.
Really? Okay.
Actually, you know what?
Why?
So let's say the assumption here is that I have the physical fitness to do either of these things, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Then give me Everest, because I think that's far more rare from an achievement standpoint, and it just doesn't look very fun because it's like a line up the mountain. And
yeah,
I mean, if you see these pictures of people going to climb it, it's like, it's not just you, it's you and like 1,000 other people.
Yeah, right.
All slowly making their way up. And, so what happens? You get to the summit, and then you've got somebody behind you like, hurry up, I'm dying over here. Like literally.
Yeah.
Right. I think Everett would be the coolest thing, but I think, China, the Great Wall of China would be an interesting one to see too.
Either one would be amazing. I agree.
Yeah.
But I could only imagine the feeling of getting to the top of Mount Everest and looking like all around you and just seeing just the landscape of the world from up there. And you're just like, that would be a total holy shit moment for me.
I don't know how much you could really appreciate it though, given
I don't know
how much of a feat is to get up there.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. You probably get up there and be like,
yeah, you just collapse. You're like, all right.
Yeah.
And then you got to go back down.
It's over. Yeah. I hear you. But yeah, the Great Wall would be great. No pun intended. Would be quite the achievement as well. So they both be good ones. So, all right. Well,
I got one for you.
Okay.
Would you rather live in a world with no crime or no privacy?
Ooh. Okay. So in a world with no crime, I have privacy.
Mm-hmm.
But
and the opposite is you have privacy, but there is crime.
Wow, that's a tough one. I got to go with the privacy.
Mm-hmm.
I think, just from a personal standpoint, I think knowing the person that I am, I sometimes need my private time. I need my alone time. And it's just for me. Yeah, I think I would take privacy over the no crime thing. I think.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
That's a little, and I realize it's a little selfish, but
no, I don't think it's selfish at all. I think, is privacy a right that people should have?
Yeah, I think so.
Now, you can give up that right by being in a certain position, public position, athlete, actor, podcaster, whatever it might be. But that's your own choice.
Yes. Yeah, because we've both shared some stuff on the podcast that we may not have, or may not have otherwise. But like you just said, that's our choice. So
yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think I gotta go with the privacy thing.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I don't think we'll get to either of those worlds, unfortunately. So
No.
right now we have a little bit of one and a lot of the other, and depending on who you talk to, the answer will change.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's a path to either one, to be honest with you. I don't think there ever will be. So
it's hard to do anything in this world without giving up privacy. It is a currency. Think of things like that you use all day and all the time. Google Maps. You're giving up your privacy to be able to not have to carry around a AAA triptych or maps in your glove box.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, you get carrying your iPhone, your privacy's gone.
Yep.
Somebody knows where you are.
And iPhones are and iOS is generally the most private choice you can make, at least in the US, for a mobile operating system. Apple actually does a pretty decent job of trying to be privacy and user security and all that good stuff, but they're still a large company, et cetera. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking around. I've got my phone. I've got a smart ring, a smart watch. I mean, there's plenty of different things emanating, beacons off of me that would make it, a trackable person.
Okay, so you touched on something. So a smart ring. What is that?
Mm-hmm. So I have, right now I'm using an Aura ring, Oura. I've also tried RingCon, which is another one that's out there. And there's a few other things, but Aura is kind of like, I guess, the best that there is right now. And so for me, I use it for sleep tracking. And that's pretty much its primary purpose, because it also does heart rate and like blood oxygen and things like that. Activity, motion walking, et cetera. But my watch also does some of those things. So I have some redundancy built in between the two. But I mostly use it for sleep tracking because I can wear it all the time. It's waterproof. The battery generally lasts about a week. Whereas, the watch I have to charge, every day and a half or so. So, but yeah, smart ring is, it's a luxury item for sure, but you can use like HSA or FSA money if you have like a health savings account towards it. So, I find it beneficial just like tracking sleep, basically.
Why do you feel the need to track your sleep?
Because I'm just curious about my own metrics. So, how did I sleep last night? Did I get REM sleep versus deep sleep versus light sleep? How much did I toss and turn? Are there things that I can be doing to improve my quality of rest, right? Things like that. So, that's primarily the reason I do it, is more, the stats nerd in me trying to figure out, okay, is there a correlation? Because I had a Coke at night, am I up later? Or if I'm sleeping on the road, I generally sleep way poorly compared to when I'm at home.
Sure.
Things like that. And you can actually see the measurements and things like that, and how it affects your sleep in your body and stuff like that.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's hard to wear a watch at night. The watch will do the same thing, but I need, I usually charge my watch while I'm sleeping. So the ring just stays on all the time.
I never knew there was such a thing as a smart ring. The smart ring I thought was my doorbell.
That's a different type of smart ring, but yes.
Yeah, there you go. That's the smart ring I have.
Well, I mean, there's smart devices all over the place. There's wristbands, watches, rings, glasses, all kinds of different wearables. I think glasses will be the one that's interesting. I think we talked about some, last episode, maybe the episode before that. I tried out some smart glasses. I did send them back. Only because I'm old and now I need like progressive lenses. And so like, I'll have to figure out that. And you can only get them in certain parts of the world. So, but I think that'll be the next kind of big wave of wearables, will be some sort of glasses. I mean, you're already seeing like Meta do it with Ray-Bans and stuff like that. I think Oakley just came out with a version of that as well. So, and I'm sure Apple's working on it, and as well as Samsung. So they're interesting little devices, and we're always plugged in all the time. So gotta get my feeds in my face.
I know you love your toys, so
I do.
I'm down with that. Yeah, interesting. No, you just mentioned smart ring, and I thought that was cool. So okay, so the one thing I want to ask you, I've been watching this documentary on Netflix, and it's about the Tour de France. Do you know what the Tour de France is? What that is, right?
It's a bunch of bikers going through France.
Yes.
Bicyclers, not bikers, but you know.
Yeah, cycling. I guess they race every day for like 3 weeks, and all throughout France, it's like the biggest cycling thing in the world. So this doc is like 3 seasons long, and I'm about to the end of the second season, and I got to tell you, some of the scenery in France is unbelievable. And I don't know if it's Netflix that just shot it right or whatever. But my question to you is, because I know you've been to Paris, how far out from Paris have you been? Or were you just like
I have not.
in Paris and that's it?
I've only been in downtown Paris, up and down between basically the Louvre, Arc de Triomphe, and Eiffel Tower, sort of like, and Notre Dame. Like that square kind of on a map-ish is about the extent of my Paris travels.
Because some of these stages, which are anywhere from like 120 to sometimes 180, 190 kilometers long, run through the mountains, like I think it's the Alps and the Pyrenees.
Yep, as you go down further south. Yep.
Yeah. The scenery there, I was just blown away. I'm like, I need to go there. I mean, I'm at the point where I need to go. I need to watch this, like a stage of this race somewhere, because it's crazy how European people get into this and how the French people get into this. But, and I guess sometimes, they do a different course every year. So it's been like, it'll start sometimes in very northern Italy. It's been into Belgium a couple times, that kind of thing, but it's primarily in France, and it always finishes in Paris at the, how do you pronounce it? The
Champs-Élysées.
The Champs-Élysées, as they say, and they've said it like 100 times and I still can't get it right. But, I'm just the scenery in France. I'm like, I need to go. I need to get there just to see it. I just had wondered if
you're going to be like standing off the side of the road and hoping to catch like the pack and stuff like that. I mean, it literally goes, the Tour de France, it's in the name. It goes all over France. So, it starts kind of different spots, but always ends up in Paris. So I know it's a big deal. It doesn't interest me at all. If I want to see scenery, I'll go see scenery. Like, I don't need a bike ride for that.
I've only seen it in the context of this race, but just, the hillsides and the mountains, and watching the bike race is something, that just happens to be on my television as I'm seeing this, but just seeing the country itself, I'm like, holy crap, it is gorgeous there.
So what's stopping you?
Well, there's a little thing called finances that are stopping me, but
true.
Other than that, nothing. If I had the funds, I would go see it someday. And I at some point I will. That is the countryside of France and Italy. I am all for it. I need to go do that at some point in time. I will go do that at some point in time.
See, there you go. Now you have to will it into existence.
Yeah, but no, very, very cool. I'm a sports nut, so I just was looking for something to watch on Netflix the other day because I had a little bit of time to kill.
Oh my! You fell all the way down the rung to.
And I'm like Tour de France. I'm like, okay, let's check this out. And man, awesome! It is just awesome. And I'm like, man, what a cool, different world that these bike riders live, and how much goes into it, and how passionate these people are when they win a stage. They go absolutely bananas in their tour buses and in their little cars that follow them around. And these guys are riding down the hills at 80 kilometers per hour. I don't know how that translates into miles per hour, but it is goddamn fast. And God forbid you hit a rock and crash, and holy shit, you could kill yourself. So pretty interesting. But I just had wondered what part of, the landscape of France you had seen, because
I've only been to Paris,
really
but my wife has been to a few places through a lot of wineries, stuff like that for prior work and stuff like that. So definitely she has seen more of the countryside than I have, but Paris is pretty sweet.
Yeah, I was very impressed. Very impressed. Okay, so the last thing I have for you is this weekend was Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath's final concert ever. They've been around for, oh man, I don't know, 60s, 70s. They're like the pioneers of heavy metal music. So they had this big monster tribute concert. It was like all day long. Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Slayer, Slipknot, just people from Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine, Steven Tyler from Aerosmith, just all kinds of guys from rock and roll and heavy metal music playing tributes. And I guess it ended with like a five song set from Ozzy himself with actual Black Sabbath. It was pretty neat. So I came across a highlight. Are you familiar with the Ozzy Osbourne song Bark at the Moon?
Yeah.
Okay. So they played a version of Bark at the Moon. It was like a tribute. It was like a super group. Okay. Let me know if you know these names. So Vernon Reed, you know who that is?
Sounds familiar.
He's a guitarist for Living Colour.
Okay.
Travis Barker. We all know who that is.
Mm-hmm.
Rudy Sarzo. Do you know who that is?
What is he? He's guitarist for Quiet Riot, I think.
Yes, Quiet Riot also played in Whitesnake, and he has played with Ozzy Osbourne for a while. So
he's an old dude too. He's like in his 70s.
Yes, he is. Nuno Betancourt. Do you know who that is?
Yeah. What's his thing? Another guitarist guy from. Is he Portuguese? He's not even in. I think he played in a U.S. band, I think, but.
Yes, he was in the band Extreme.
Right.
Okay.
I know he's super, like, it's just a super awesome guitarist.
Very awesome guitarist. In fact, he played a lot of the, like they had, when they brought out different lead singers, like I said, Steven Tyler and some other guys. I think Sammy Hagar was there. Nuno Betancourt was one of the guitar guys who played like on every song because he knows everything.
For some reason, I always thought his name was interesting because it sounded like French to me, but he's actually like from Portugal or something like that.
Yeah, and he's been around forever, like the mid 80s. But I looked it up today. He's only 58 years old.
He's got a picture of Dorian Gray somewhere because he does not look like he is. Like he looks like he still is like in his 30s.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But the lead singer of this particular group that played Bark at the Moon was a guy by the name of, I believe it is Papa V Perpetua.
Ghost.
And who is that, Jeff?
Yeah, the lead singer for Ghost, Tobias something. I can't remember his last name. Forge.
And I knew that would interest you. So it came up on my Facebook today as a highlight. So I looked it up on YouTube, and their performance of Bark at the Moon is on YouTube with him at the lead. Jeff, I got to tell you, phenomenal.
I got to look that up then.
Yeah, definitely do that because I know you're a Ghost guy. And I know you've been listening to them lately. And I got to tell you, he nailed this song hardcore. Bark at the Moon is like probably my favorite Ozzy song ever. So for anybody else to sing it, I gotta, you better bring it, if you know what I'm saying. And this guy, in my opinion, was tremendous. So that's my music recommendation for you this week is to go look that up and watch that performance.
I'm gonna have to cue that up in YouTube here while we're talking, just so I don't forget.
Yeah, really good.
So I think Crazy Train is probably my favorite.
Okay, I like Crazy Train.
Yeah,
going off the rails on a Crazy Train. Yeah. Luckily, this podcast is not going off the rails.
It goes off the rails all the time. Just it's a controlled chaos, a controlled demolition,
like what just happened. But anyway, but yeah, do check that out because I figured you would like that. Going back to the TV, I do need to finish Andor.
Okay, I was going to ask if you had finished it yet.
I'm almost there. I'm on like season 2, episode, I think 7. So I'm almost
there.
So
you're starting to get to the end there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm progressing. And still haven't gotten back to Game of Thrones, but I will eventually.
Eventually,
I will. But yeah.
So I finished actually a couple seasons of things over the weekend, last weekend. I had a lot of time to kill on travel and stuff. So I finished the most recent episode of The Bear, which, have you seen The Bear?
I have. I've seen the first 3 episodes
Of the last
of the
season?
first season.
Okay.
Michelle, Jeremy, and I started watching it. I like it.
It is fantastic.
Yes, I think it's good.
Yeah. So I'm all caught up on The Bear.
Takes me back to my restaurant days.
Yeah. It is stressful watching.
Oh yes.
Like, it is definitely not I mean, I guess it's like, it felt like the year that it won awards, it was like comedy or drama, and it like won as a comedy, which,
yeah,
I mean, there's some fun parts, but it's not a comedy.
No,
but it's such a
but
good
I could
show.
laugh at it because I felt that.
Yep. I think The Bear and the movie Waiting are the 2 most realistic food service movies that I've ever been part with.
Loved Waiting. A little early Ryan Reynolds. Yes.
Yep. And Justin Long and Anna Faris and who else is in it? Yeah, but I always tell people, like, that is the most realistic depiction of serving, at least when I was serving, what a restaurant was like, was the movie Waiting.
Who's the comedian? Dane. Oh, what the
Dane Cook.
Dane Cook. Thank you.
Yep, he's in it. Yeah. There's a lot of faces in it that you're like, oh, this guy's in it. Yeah, and it's such a fun movie. But yeah, The Bear is fantastic. And then on Apple TV, I binged Murderbot, which is like a 7 or 8 episode thing with Alexander Skarsgård, who's kind of like the main kind of protagonist one. Sci-fi kind of thing. I'm a robot that basically like has somehow its limiters removed or whatever. It's kind of early on, and it reminds me a lot of the show Resident Alien. Did you ever see that?
No, but I remember the game.
Okay.
Remember the video game?
Would that have been a Resident Evil, probably.
Oh, Resident Evil. Oh, yeah.
So Resident Alien is...
Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking of Resident Evil when it comes to game.
He's that one voice actor that made like a shit ton of money. We were talking about him a couple weeks ago. What's his name? And he's also the voice of the robot in Andor, the battle droid thing that they like take over. What's that guy's name? Let me look it up real quick. Please hold. Alan Tudyk.
Okay.
And so he does like a lot of voice acting. He's been in a lot of different stuff. He's Steve the Pirate in Dodgeball, for example.
Okay.
He's also in Serenity and a bunch of other, nerdy stuff. But he's just a good actor. But if you're familiar with the show Resident Alien, and it sounds like you are not, it's basically
I thought it was Resident Evil. So yeah, never mind.
Resident Alien he plays an alien, but when people look at him, all they see is a human. It's like he has like this disguise. But the only people who get to see his true alien form are kids, basically. And it's a comedy, and it's over the top. But Murderbot has very much Resident Alien vibes to it. So if you haven't seen Murderbot, but you've seen Resident Alien, if you liked Resident Alien, you will probably like Murderbot.
All right. So I either need to watch both or watch neither. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And I don't think, So like I said, it was good. And it's a comedy. It's basically, this robot, and he's just an anti-human, doesn't really want to put up with them, and has like an inner monologue, about all the things he would be doing to these humans if he could, stuff like that.
All right. Murderbot. All right. I will see if I can find it and check it out.
Yeah. So I binged those 2 things, and
nice.
Now I'm trying to figure out whatever I have next on my list.
I know. I try to. I'll admit. I like the Netflix docs, so I'll look around and see what's on. And I had no idea the Tour de France thing was 3 seasons. I was like, oh shit! But
it happens every year, so theoretically they could do it all the time.
True.
Yeah.
But they do a really decent job with like sports documentaries, and I love that stuff. So I'll watch any of it. So I've watched the one on NASCAR. I've watched the one on PGA Tour. They've done a couple things on like basketball Dream Team or the Redemption Team or all that kind of the Redeem Team or whatever they call it. Mm-hmm. So I've watched all that stuff, and it's they Netflix does a pretty good job with that kind of thing. So
So I just end up on YouTube 9 times out of 10 because I'm looking for something, that's kind of like background, TV or something while I'm working or doing whatever. And it ends up being that like my feed ends up showing It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia clips, Saturday Night Live clips.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit Kill Tony stuff. I don't know if you've ever seen Kill Tony, but
No.
it's a really interesting podcast. They do the premise behind it is they have a comedian that they pick out of a bowl of like a bunch of amateurs, and they basically come up and they do a minute of stand up in front of like a live crowd and in front of Tony Hinchcliffe, who's a professional comedian, as well as some guests that he might have that like Shane Gillis or et cetera. It's kind of the whole Joe Rogan sphere, which I'm not a fan of Joe Rogan at all. I think he's an idiot, but I do appreciate the Kill Tony show. I think it's kind of funny. And they basically have like, and it's improv, basically. It's like they'll have a pot of like 200 names and they randomly pick people out and then they get them up on stage, and sometimes they're great. Most of the time they're terrible. And then after their 1 minute set, they basically get interviewed on stage by like the panel there. And it's usually a roast of some sort. They're usually making fun or poking stuff and stuff like that. But
I love a good roast. We've talked about that. I like roast. So wild. Talk about feeds and stuff and what shows up, like when you go down the rabbit hole of God knows what. So lately, my real feed has been back and forth between old episodes of The Cosby Show, old episodes of Home Improvement, which was hilarious, by the way. I don't know if you watched that show when it was.
I used to. I don't think it's aged as well, but
Tim Allen. I'm sorry. I think the guy is absolutely hysterical.
Cocaine dealing.
I know.
Rat.
I know.
It's just Tim Allen.
He was good on. Home Improvement. He was good on. What is it? What's the other one? Still Standing or something. Whatever the hell others. Sitcom he was on where he was like the only guy and he had 3 daughters and all that kind of. It's so weird because the Home Improvement he had 3 sons and on the other one he had 3 daughters. But it's like basically the same show, but kind of weird. And the other thing lately that's been showing up is old clips of the original Top Gun movie.
That is a very strange mix.
I know. But
what is meta think about you?
I have no idea, but I got to tell you, Top Gun, the original Top Gun, which came out, I think, in 1986, is still my all-time favorite movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Original Top Gun. Your favorite
original
movie?
One. I can recite that movie just about word for word, along with, I can't do it from memory, but if I'm watching it, I know every line in that movie. I just thought it was awesome. Start to finish.
Well, it's a classic for sure. It's a great movie.
Yeah, and I've seen it.
My favorite.
I've seen it easily 100 times, and I will still watch it whenever it's on, no matter what point in the movie. I will finish it every single time.
See, now that's how I feel about Tombstone.
Okay,
as I can watch Tombstone anytime that show comes on, and there's so many quotes, and it's such an interesting movie about how it got made and stuff like that. If you want to watch the documentary, watch how Tombstone got made, because that movie was a disaster and turned out to be like the best, Western of all time, basically.
I want to see, what is it? I think it's called F1, the new Brad Pitt movie, because it's made by the Top Gun guys. Jeremy has seen it twice already and said it was awesome. Yeah, so I do want.
Some about doesn't
see that.
Just isn't. I'm not like a racing person, so I guess just doesn't do it for me.
It's sports, so I'll watch it.
Yeah, of course it is.
But yeah, Brad Pitt. I think he's a really good actor. Like, I loved Moneyball, and if it's Brad Pitt in sports, I'll watch it. So
I did enjoy Moneyball quite a bit. That's another one that I have a hard time turning off whenever it's on.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
it's good. So, but yeah, man, that's all I got for you. I knew you'd like the Ghost reference. Do check that out, because
I have it queued up here. I'm going to watch it after we're done, so we don't get a copyright strike.
Yeah, right.
I don't want Ozzy coming here and biting my head off.
Yeah, we are not the owners of that music, so yes,
right.
But Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
So he was like full costume too.
In his ghosts paraphernalia or something else?
Well, what does he normally wear? I'm not.
He wears like almost like a priest kind of mock up to some degree. Sometimes he'll wear like a giant papal hat, and like there's a bunch of different things he could do.
He wore like this silver mask.
Okay.
Almost like a. Oh man. Just like a flat silver, almost like a Michael Myers type thing.
Okay.
Just straight silver. And he had on also like a silver, it almost looked like a suit coat.
Yeah.
And silver slacks and stuff. And then with like a black shirt underneath it. Very clean look.
Okay.
But he sounded amazing. That guy's obviously a very good singer.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big fan of Ghosts. Like I said, I just discovered them.
No, I know you are. I know you are.
So I'm definitely going back through that. And maybe they've been around for a while, so it's not like I've just discovered them.
Right. But that guy's voice really matched this song well, I thought. So I think you'll like it.
It's queued up. I'm ready to go. So
cool.
I'm going to be done talking to you so I can watch it. And then I got a flight in the morning. So I got to head to New York City.
NYC. Enjoy it.
I will. All right, man. What do you got this week? Anything exciting? Just baseball next week?
Just baseball next week. It's the last week. We got a couple of tryouts this week to fill our last spot, and just work, and more work. So I feel like I've been off for like a week because 4th of July week is like nothing. So tomorrow's kind of a back to reality type thing. So
I hear you.
That's it.
All right.
Back to the grind.
Well, you have a good week, and I'll talk to you throughout the week, and then next week we'll record again.
Sounds good.
All right. See ya.
See ya.